Listen, this is for you, okay? This is for you. So I want to cover 3 things that you need to do when God is calling you to level up. Welcome to the place where visionaries, leaders, and kingdom builders come when you are in the alley, as I help you discover the keys to unlock your next level of clarity, strategy, and confidence. I'm Dr. Latanya. Welcome back to my channel. I am Dr. Latanya Moore, and I am here to help you discover the keys to unlock your next level of clarity, strategy, and confidence. Okay? Especially if you are a visionary, a leader, a kingdom builder, or a kingdom CEO who is in the alley, not to be confused with the valley, but in between 2 building phases. I am so glad that you've decided to, come on in. I hope that you're ready for these quick tips, these quick keys, because we have a couple things to discuss today, and I want to get really, really deep on things that you need to consider, things that you need to do, things that you need to really, sit down and evaluate when God is calling you to level up. Have you ever been in that place? Have you ever been in a place where you're like, okay, I feel like what I'm doing, it may be working, maybe it isn't working as much anymore, but one thing I know is that God is calling me higher. Like, what I'm doing is working, maybe not, but all I know is that I'm supposed to be leveling up right now. I've been comfortable. I've been in a place where I desire more, and God is showing me more. Ooh. Have you ever been there? Like, where you're in a place where God is showing you more, and you know without a shadow of a doubt that whatever He is showing you belongs to you already, so you just need to do what you need to do in order to see what God said. Listen, this is for you, okay? This is for you. So I want to cover 3 things that you need to do when God is calling you to level up. Now, these things aren't your, normal things, right? But they're all things that God began to lead me through as He called me through a level up process myself. And so I began to realize that this is the stuff nobody tells you. Why? Because nobody's really going this deep to understand that these things will get you to that next place, but you have to be prepared for that next place, okay? So the first thing that I want you to do when God is calling you to level up is I want you to go dissect the last word you have, the last word you've gotten. I want you to go dissect that word. Here's the thing, you're dissecting for a couple of reasons. One of the first reasons why I dissected the last word that God had given me is because I wanted to make sure that I had completed everything. Like, have you ever heard somebody say, stop asking God for another assignment, stop asking Him for clarity on one thing, you hadn't finished the last thing? Or you're wondering why you hadn't heard God on something else, but you hadn't completed the last thing He told you to do? Well, guess what? That's exactly what I'm talking about, okay? When I tell you it is so important to go back to that last word and dissect it to see, one, if you've actually completed it. And if that last word was super, super recent, right? And you haven't gotten to the place where you've done anything yet, what I want you to do with that word is I want you to go through that thing with a fine-tooth comb. That means with a highlighter. Every single time I get a prophetic word that I can record or go back to, I go through and I write that word out word for word, okay? Even the ums. Even the words that God give me in prayer, right? When God is ministering directly to me, to my soul, when He's giving me prophetic words for myself, when He is correcting me, I write those words down word for word, okay? And what I want you to do is just go through it. I want you to highlight the areas that require your action. I want you to highlight the areas that require your change. I want you to highlight the areas that right, are going to require you to do something different, because that is a part of the process of leveling up, right? It is knowing what to do because you've heard what God said do, right? And in the midst of it, you can begin to ask God questions and all of those things in order to see what He said. All right, it's so vital. The last time I did this, I actually took a word that I had gotten, and I actually just used colored markers and I wrote out the entire thing, but I went through and highlighted and underlined themes in that word, right? That helped me understand what God was calling me to do. I'm like, oh, this relates to this. Okay, and this relates to this. And I went through and I also then found scripture to back up the word that I received. Not because I was trying to, figure out if the word was good for me, but really because I was understanding where I needed to go in the word to see the word come to pass. All right. The second thing that I want you to do, if God, not even if, but when God is calling you to level up, because if you're here, if you're on this video, I hope you've already hit subscribe to this channel, because here we are, we're diving in. But when he calls you to level up, and you're here because of that already, I want you to study your next season. Oh my gosh, no one says this, right? I want you to study your next season. It's almost like planning a vacation and you know that you're going, so you're already starting to look up hotels. You're already starting to look up excursions. You're already starting to look up local restaurants. Do the same thing when God is calling you to level up. What is it that he is calling you to? What is the place like? I feel God on that. What is the place like that he is calling you to walk into? What types of things will you encounter there? Who do you need to be? Who do you need to become? I remember when God began to call me to level up, and he began to show me some things I actually got in one of these prophetic words. He said that the prophet said that God was calling me to tear down and rebuild. That some people were going to be coming to me and they were going to expect me to tear things down and to rebuild. Well, I thought, who in the Bible had to tear some things down and rebuild? And the Lord took me over to Apostle Paul, and I began to see the structure of Paul's tearing down and his rebuilding. I also began to see how he handled telling the church of Corinth these difficult words. Oh my God. He was so straight to the point. However, he also built them up first, right? He built them up in their most holy faith. He built them up by sharing with them who they were and reminding, them of who they were. And so I began to take nuggets from that to learn. I want you to do the same thing. Study in next season. I did the same thing when I moved to Dallas. I knew that God was moving me to another level in Dallas, and I was living in Durham, North Carolina. And I began to say to myself, all right, tell me about Dallas. I began to pray and prophesy and speak to Dallas every single morning. And so I studied the place. Right now, if you show me a map of Dallas, matter of fact, you don't even have to show me. If you tell me a city or surrounding place as it relates to that Dallas map, I can tell you exactly where it is because I studied the map, right? I studied that next season, which gave me the insight and the foresight of what God was calling me to do next in my assignment. The last thing that I really want you to think about, if God is, not if, but when, God is calling you to level up, because we all get to that place, right? Where he calls us to move outside of ourselves, when he calls us to move outside of, our norm or the situations and the things that we have been comfortable with, and to move into something that is going to, really should shift the trajectory of our lives and shift the trajectory of the people around us and the people that we lead, right? For us to not only become builders, but also to become architects and begin to build those blueprints. I want you, here we go. I want you to come into agreement. Coming into agreement means, for me especially, and I want to pass this to you, is that if you begin to move like that word is effective immediately, everything will shift. That coming into agreement means that you are saying, God, I believe that this is going to happen for me. It's not a matter of if it will happen. It's a matter of when it will happen. And so I choose to come into agreement with what you said. And if I start moving today as if you told me this thing today and it was effective immediately, you know how some people get fired and they get that little letter And that little letter says effective immediate. Some of y'all quitting. Some people have quit with that same letter, effective immediately. There are no more days. I like to move in those prophetic words when God is calling me to level up, as if that word, as if that assignment, as if that dream, as if whatever it is He has given me is effective immediately. That means that I am putting some action and I'm reacting, right, to what He's giving me. And so I want you to do the same thing. I want you to move as if that was effective immediately. If God told you to start the podcast, move, get the mic, get whatever it is you need to start immediately. I want you to go ahead. I mean, we know that God's timing is perfect, right? And so we know that things happen at a certain time. So it may not be that He's asking you to start right now. However, you need to prepare as if He is. Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so you want to be prepared for the things that you're moving into. When God is calling you to lead a new community, when God is calling you to start a new initiative or even start a new church, when God is calling you to start a new business or to create a new program or to do something different on social media, or to step outside of what you've normally been doing and do something that's at a higher level, it is because He's trying to get you to a higher level and the people behind you to a higher level. And so if you start moving like it's effective immediately, then you won't sit around and wait for those moments to pass you by. You will begin to move so that you will indeed see, right, what God said. If this blessed you, I want you to make sure you share it with somebody you know. Maybe you know another visionary, another leader, another builder, another CEO who needs a nugget and a key, right? Because over here, we got the keys. We have the keys to unlock your next level of clarity, strategy, and confidence. And I hope that this video is one of those keys to help you understand how to move when God gives you the go to go ahead and jump into that next level. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, send this video to somebody you know who needs it, and make sure that you leave a comment. Why? Because you got the keys. Let's go.